Hello, I'm here tonight with the legend that is Clive de Carle. Clive, how are you?
Very good, thank you, Steve. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. You're looking every time I see you, you get a bit more handsome. You're a bit better for your age. You're a good advert for all these vitamins and nutrients. Let's put it that way.
I don't take that many of them because I'm lucky enough to eat really well. I mean, tonight I'm cooking some stuff that I just foraged locally because now wild garlic's coming out. I found some wild chives. I mean, I'm lucky
Wild
enough,
garlic's very nice wild garlic.
particularly made into a pesto.
Yeah, lovely,
But I'm lucky I
very
live out in the
nice.
middle of nowhere, so there's some real stuff growing out there.
And is that something that you've picked up as a skill sort of later in life, this foraging idea, or is that something that you were brought up with?
I suppose brought up with. I remember being shown the wild strawberries at one point, and thinking, "Wow!" And I was lucky enough to have an organic farm at one point, and the land had never been cultivated with chemicals, basically. So there were wild mushrooms all over the place, and it was, wild asparagus, wild almost everything just growing. If you knew what you were looking at, um, it was fantastic. So I've always liked the idea of a bit of free food.
And what would you be going for then? What would be your sort of your herb or your veg of choice when you're out there foraging? What would be the thing that you would be delighted to see?
Well, right now, I went out today for the wild garlic, and that will probably be around now for the next 6 weeks or so. And one can keep it for a long time because I like it raw. So if you make a pesto with it, put in some nuts or some sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds or whatever you like, and lots of real, genuine, organic, cold pressed virgin olive oil. Um, it lasts a while, or you could just put it in the freezer if you really had to. Um, but it's incredibly good for you. I mean, bitter herbs are something that our ancestors would have been familiar with. Our ancestors realized they usually had to go through a deworming process.
Hmm.
Both the animals and the people. And bitter herbs would be one of the ways to do it. Dandelion leaves, rocket.
It's amazing the old skills that used to be handed down. They've managed to stop them being handed down, and the idea of foraging for many would be cloud cuckoo land, but there is, and it's mainly within this sort of awakened community, I would say, Clive, where people are interested in this again. The old ways of doing things are coming back. Like things like that wild garlic. I mean, I hear people talking about wild garlic all the time. 3 or 4 times this week I've heard people talking about it. Is it in season just now?
Yes, yes, yes. Now it's just happening right now, and will continue to happen for quite a while. And once somebody's pointed it out to you, you'll remember it. It's very clear. There are a few other green things that have a vaguely the same shaped leaf, but unless you're a complete idiot, you cannot get it wrong.
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, listen, Clive, that's the members starting to join now, and more will join. And as I said, we'll get people who watch it after the event, and this show will run and run, as they say, in Broadway. Um, tell me this, Clive. I've had the benefit of getting a lovely box of vitamins and minerals from you. Would you call them vitamins, minerals, or nutrients? How do you best describe what you do?
Well, what we run on, aside from sunlight and water, and uh, we are basically a bunch of minerals, vitamins, amino acids, and essential fats. That's sort of really what we are. So, after having been ill for a very, very long, pretty seriously, they thought I was probably going to die 35 years ago. I realized that we're all self-repairing. So I realized that doctors don't understand health. They don't get taught health. And so over the years, I've come to realize how simple it can be to fill the missing gaps in our bodies to make us self-repair like we should. Because everybody's eating food that's substandard one way or another. That, you know, if we're self-repairing, well, why aren't we all self-repairing? Why is anybody ill? Well, because they're not putting the right fuel in the tank.
It's like that old saying, let food be thy medicine. That's really speaks bundles, doesn't it? You know, that is the essence of it, really.
Well, absolutely. You know, if you went down to the zoo and most of the animals were ill, you'd immediately just ask the zookeeper, well, what are you feeding these animals? They're all ill. But nobody seems to ask that when it comes to the humans.
And these animals in the human race are all ill. You know,
Well,
when you look at it, if you know, to use that metaphor there, if you were to if you were to look at it, you would say that the society is sick at the moment.
yeah, well, it certainly is. And when did the doctor last say, oh, well, you can't be eating right. You've got
Yeah.
arthritis, or you can't be eating right. You know, I mean, it's just so obvious.
Yeah.
But there's lots of money in drugs, and that's
Well,
what they
well, this,
tell.
well, this is it, Clive, and this is one of the things that I wanted to speak to you about. So we're big fans of what you do here, and the amazing website that you've pulled together, and I'll pull that up on the screen as well, and we'll have a look at that at one point as we're chatting. But what I wanted to talk to you about was the whole idea of taking these nutrients and minerals and the types of things that you actually sell on your website and you advise upon, and how you take them. You know, that's the sort of mystery for me. It's a missing piece of my puzzle. I've got your stuff there, and I've been meaning to phone you or chat with you again. Beautifully packaged material. I I'm confident in it. There's a confidence having spoken to you and met with you and understanding your flair for picking the right things, as well as your quality control standards, which I know you've got. I know you're a fussy bugger and you like to get things right. What was the story? You told me a story before about, was it your dad who taught you that kind of quality factor? You know, make sure you do things right or don't do them at all.
Well, yeah, my dad had this poster above his desk which just says, "My tastes are simple. I just like the best."
Yeah.
And because, you know, it's true in the long run, the best usually lasts the longest. You know, I've got a jacket that I paid a fortune for 40 years ago, and it refuses to wear out. You know, um, they,
That's a bit like you and I, Clive. We're refusing to wear out, aren't we? Well, you're refusing a bit better than me, right enough, but that's fine. We'll get there in the end. Um,
so in answer to your question, what got me out of hospital or got me better from horrendous arthritis and various other things was essentially vitamin C, magnesium, and probiotics, a few quite basic things, a couple of minor adjustments to the diet. But now I've got it narrowed down to about 12 minerals, vitamins, essential fats, and amino acids, uh, or 12 supplements containing them, which most people only need a few of those. But often, when somebody is unwell, they may, for a time, need all of them. And again, over the years, I began to realize that everybody is super paranoid about overdosing with vitamins and minerals. Now, people are rightly paranoid about overdosing with drugs, particularly the pharmaceutical type, but it's actually ridiculously difficult in most cases to overdose with a vitamin or a mineral. I think there have been no cases ever of death from vitamin and mineral poisoning. It's just, as far as I know, never happened. So what, most people, if they get a tub of vitamins, they probably will take 1 or 2 a day. That would be what most people would assume would be the right amount. It sounds
And it would
logical.
normally say that on it as well. There's always, even yours, like look, what you is the rules that you're what you say on the label and what you would say to me in a private conversation might be slightly different. Like you or is that a labeling sort of legal thing that's the challenge there?
Um, the powers that be would like to regulate everything, but they haven't luckily got that far. So, I mean, to give you an example, I'm one of the few manufacturers who writes on their magnesium bottle, where most people take 2 or take 3 or something maybe. I say take up to 12.
Yep,
Now,
I can vouch
for
for
most
that. Yep.
people, that would be shocking. 12 magnesium capsules, that's ridiculous. But actually, it's not, because the RDA, the recommended daily allowance, the amount that is the minimum to stop you dying, would be about between 3 or 4 capsules. So to take 12, and you'd maybe take them divided over a day, isn't actually that much. It's only 3 times the absolute bare minimum. So now with many things, you don't need to take 12 to achieve that. I'm picking magnesium because it's such a prime example, but the effects on some people of taking 12 are to change what's been wrong with them for 10 or 20 years sometimes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah,
I
and
should also
that's kind of the holy grail, isn't it, for a lot of people if they think that can happen. But you guys can never make. It's a great conversation that, and it's and I'm, as I said, you're a, a trustworthy guy, and you've seen a lot of people and you've helped a lot of people. So I'm sure you've seen that happen where 20-year illnesses have been vastly improved in a couple of days by sorting out these deficiencies. But not everyone's going to have that kind of result, but some will. And for everybody, it's worth trying, isn't it? To say, well, can I have that? But it's got to be the right stuff, hasn't it? As you say, it's got to be the
Yeah.
I only do the best, and then
Well, quite. I mean, if you're going to take what might be considered a high dose of something, you want it to be clean and pure. You don't want it to be mixed with binders and fillers and additives and flavorings and God knows what. So I've always tried where possible to go for the absolute basic clean material, not flavored up, not colored, not anything, but just 100% pure and not genetically modified. And because the best does work the best. Excuse me for 1 second. I've just realised I'm cooking something and I forgot to turn it off.
no problem. And while we're here, can I just check in the chat room? Everybody can hear and see us okay. No issues. Sounds all good. Everything fine. Just give us a little yes there.
Somebody I noticed in the chat room mentioned nettles, which are another fantastic food out there. And more or less all year round, you can find some nettles growing. And young nettles also make very nice pesto if you add a bit of garlic.
Well, I watched a video the other night, and I'll maybe if we get a chance, I'll touch on this at some point because we're launching a thing called the Good Food Project. It's like a organic and chemically free food for everybody, basically. And I was watching a video the other night, and a woman, she was growing up in the Highlands of Scotland, quite high above sea level, quite a rough piece of land, Clive. Not a great piece of land traditionally, but she managed to get off and running with a kind of market garden, a fairly decent sized market garden, and it was working really well for her. And she put it down to, she couldn't prove it, but she made a kind of nettle tea, and she was pouring it over the all her plants and her veg. And she said, I'm attributing the success here to that. I don't have the test to prove it. I can't rerun it again. She says, but it felt good to me. And that was just nettle tea. These things are simple, aren't they? If you can get free free nettles out there, put them in tea, and get more volume, better harvest out your own garden. What a great result.
Yeah. And as a free herb tea, nettle tea isn't all that bad. Every now and then I like nettle soup. I think that's quite nice.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking, where do you get magnesium from?
Yeah. Yeah,
And the answer,
your magnesium's quite. Yeah, let's talk about your particular magnesium, and because you think magnesium is the you put magnesium on a pedestal, don't you? You think that's a lot of people are deficient in it, and that they should have it in their regime. Yeah.
I think it's the number one mineral, and I would go as far as to say that 95% of us are low on it, probably more. And the reason why is partly because it's not in the food. Normally we get it in green leafy vegetables, and it comes in a number of foods, chocolate. But because of the growing, terrible agriculture using chemicals instead of natural materials to fertilize the land, the magnesium just isn't in the food. It's just missing. On top of that, when we get stressed, and we're all stressed right now more than ever, perhaps, then we burn magnesium as our response to stress. So let's say you run out of magnesium, then you can't cope with the stress. It becomes overwhelming. And for how many people is that true? Run out of magnesium, things can happen like heart arrhythmia, heart attacks. In fact, if you really run out of magnesium, you will have a heart attack. That's what happens when you're absolutely.
Well, that's interesting, because people are certainly, and I don't know if you're noticing this, but I am noticing it everywhere, even within the awakened community, who usually, apart from our members who are very good, but even within our membership, there's a lot of tension, and just now, I've never seen it as bad, and it's really 2 years of this stuff. We're all battle weary and punch drunk, Clive. And as you say, that stress, this is by design. These controllers of this world, they know if they can deplete that magnesium and you run out, you can't cope with the stress.
Well, apart from heart issues, and a lot of people you read about having heart issues, you can drop down dead from lack of magnesium, because what happens is, let's say, a sportsman, and we see people dropping down dead, don't we, on the sports field, having heart problems. If you sweat out all the magnesium in your body, then your heart won't be able to beat properly, and people have a heart attack. I'm not saying that the people who are dropping down dead from sporting activities are low on magnesium. It sounds like the other thing, but nevertheless,
It could be a mixture, though, couldn't it?
It could absolutely. That might be upsetting the magnesium balance in the body.
Mm-hmm.
But people who aren't sleeping properly, that can be a magnesium deficiency. Constipation, that almost certainly is. Panic attacks, anxiety, excessive worry, headaches, epilepsy, migraines. The list is quite huge. Muscle pains, backaches, shoulder pains can be, arthritis, anything with an osteo at the beginning, anything rheumatoid. It's almost everything has a linkage to magnesium. If you want to have your vitamin C work properly, you need magnesium. They say now that magnesium controls something like 3,000 enzymatic functions in the body. That's a lot.
Clive, I'm just going to check something just now. I was echoing there a minute ago, and I've just changed my settings slightly. The person who said you're echoing, Steve, can you tell me if that's better now and I'm not echoing now? If you're there still. I don't think I am echoing now anyway, because I can't hear myself. Okay, that's good. Yeah, thanks for raising that, because I was actually hearing it myself, but I wasn't sure, but now I am. But anyway, I fixed it. So I thought I was the ultimate professional as well, and there you go. You learn something new every day. Okay, Clive. So let's backtrack then. Back to the question: your magnesium. Where does it come from, and how did you go about sourcing it, and where do you get it into your? You don't package it yourself. I assume you've got people in a wee factory somewhere pulling all that together for you. The
Yes,
volumes
I
that
don't
you've
do
got.
it myself, but yeah, we've got a manufacturing plant in the north of England, and but we order stuff from around the world. The magnesium comes from various different places because we've got 6 types of magnesium. We've got magnesium chloride, and magnesium chloride commonly comes from places like the Dead Sea. Um, Dead Sea salts, which most people have probably heard of. Yeah, that's the type of magnesium flakes that you can have a bath in, and so that's what we make. We do a spray, so if somebody's got aching whatever, they can just rub that in a lot. And I recommend that people. Sounds boring, but let's say somebody's got an aching joint. If they rub magnesium in, let's say every half an hour, just over and over and over, within maybe hours, it might just ease up. Um, I I don't terribly like the spray because it's a bit sticky. I prefer just to take capsules, and so I often say to people like start with 12 in divided doses. I've had people who are suicidal. Less than 24 hours later, 20 odd capsules, no longer suicidal.
And this is
People.
because it's good with anxiety. Would that be
That's
the
it.
anxiousness
That's it.
there? Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't make your problems go away, but it's how we feel about the problems.
Helps you deal with stress better.
Yeah. Well, if you're calmer, then you're going to breathe more slowly and you're going to be more relaxed to think about it. The moment somebody gets anxious and in a panic, they usually start breathing very fast and they can't think straight. I mean, that's the problem with fear. It just makes people horribly confused, and the government obviously have been trying to confuse us because nothing makes sense, obviously, because it's designed not to make sense. So magnesium really is the #1 magic bullet. So the one I take personally is a blend of 4 different magnesiums, and you know, basically um, uh, all the magnesium is created in a lab. It's not a
Just,
direct
just to
extract.
get just to get that right, you said that your magnesium's got 6 different types, but the one you take personally's got 4 in it. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, it's in a capsule. So one of the types is the liquid version.
Right.
One is one called L-threonate, which supposedly is the one for neurological issues because it gets past the blood-brain barrier the best. But frankly, I take the blend, which is a blend of 4 of them, and I like it a lot. And while I recommend 12 for many people to start with, that just would be short term. I usually take maybe 4 a day, and I do that regularly, and I feel good on that. But for a few days, often people want a large
And
dose.
you would notice it if you didn't take it then. So it's a regular part of your daily routine,
Yeah,
and you think you would notice if you didn't take it.
yes. For me, I get muscle cramps if I run
Hmm.
low on magnesium. Some people, wake up in the morning and they've got a cramp in their leg or their foot. Some people have restless leg where their leg just kicks out. Some people, um, what would be another example? Twitches around the eyes. I think a lot of people have experienced twitches around the eyes, magnesium deficiency. And all these are big red flags, you know.
The capsules you've got are quite large, aren't they? How many milligrams is in? I mean, there's no padding in there. There's no extra fillers and things like that. You're just it's the
Uh,
real deal.
Generally speaking, um, as I mentioned earlier, I try to just have pure powders without anything. Magnesium is one of the only one I think that we do that has to have a flow agent because it's sticky and it jams up our machine. And so I think we're using rice bran or some. I'm not quite sure what we're using, but it's a natural flow
Hmm.
agent. Yeah,
Okay.
and most of the other manufacturers, of course, use other things that might not be quite so desirable.
Yeah, and how many milligrams per capsule then? So you're
Oh,
saying you could take up to 12?
yeah, I think, well, the capsules weigh around 600 milligrams, but the amount of elemental magnesium you get with each one is probably about 110, 120. I'm not quite sure, something like that. So three and a bit would equal the RDA.
Yeah. And
But I'm
with
eating lots of organic green vegetables, I should add. So I'm getting a decent amount of magnesium because the food I'm eating is real.
yeah, yeah, that's an important part of it for sure. And with regards to this is one of the challenges I've got, and I'm sure more people have got it. Okay, so how do you doctors aren't telling you what to take, and with respect to people like good people like yourself, Clive, you don't have time to diagnose people and ask them. And your website's there with a range of products. They can buy one of everything. So they're thinking, oh, but I'd like one of them, and I probably need that, and but they might not need them all. What any tips or tricks on how how to self-diagnose what you're probably deficient in, and to be able so that you're more likely to, to pick the winners first time round and save yourself some money and get it right and get bang for your buck's very important in a world like this where we're into rampant inflation. you know 30 quid extra in your car, your extra energy bills coming in, that was money that might normally be made available to good guys like yourself, Clive. So you want the customer to be able to make the right calls that bit more easily. What are the tips and tricks? You've got a lot of products there. What and I'll put it up on the, the website just now so as we can chat. So this is like your online shop. There's all of these different things. You know, and there's a cost to everything. Your magnesium. Yeah. So the most
But
important mineral
should,
of all.
shall we very briefly go through one at a time, and I can sort of just it's
Yeah.
probably the easiest way. So the first three there are just different size bundles, and there's the economy one, then three different amounts. If money were no object, I would seriously recommend people considering uh, trying almost all of these supplements at once. Start very small and build up, but there's this synergistic thing. If we're eating properly, we'd be getting all these vitamins and minerals just in the food. So I think the first thing is not to be scared. Some people say, "Well, I'm going to try one at a time." Well, that's just not sensible. So the red one at the end, nanopicosanol, this is a really strange product. This is the latest one that I've put on there, and I've put out several videos about this particular product. I had one woman who I think she had to take it for about 3 months or something before she got the result, but her menopausal symptoms all stopped, all went away. Then she stopped taking it for a month, and they all came back again. She started taking it, and they all went away again. Now, why this is bizarre is this is an extract of sugarcane. It's not like some um, uh, it's not what you think it might be. It's one of the few natural products that's got patented. You can't patent extracts of sugarcane, except if the results are so extraordinary that even if I showed you exactly how it was made, you'd never guess. And that's exactly what happened with this. And so I would describe it not as a cure for anything. I would describe it as what they call an adaptogen. It seems to allow people's bodies to adapt to whatever the issue may be surrounding them. Now, I've been taking it for some time, and I can't say I've noticed anything at all. Um, but I've had people who've suddenly their blood pressures got sorted out, sometimes in one day. Some people need to be on it for much longer. And I've got several videos um, with interviews of people who've had interesting results. So, as I say, there's not much more point in me talking about other than to say if you're going to try it, you probably want to try it for a while. It's not cheap, and but it's the wild card of this whole set. So if we go down,
And is that a Clive de Carle product there? Because it doesn't look like your branding, is it?
no,
No.
it's not my brand. It's made in Switzerland, and normally I only do my own stuff, but in this case, this is so unusual, and many people have tried to copy it, and everybody's failed, and so I'm happy to run with it. It's got an interesting track record.
And the thing is, I mean, what price your health, Clive? To these problems for a lot of people are, they're just all consuming. The 50 quid to solve a problem is nothing. But if it doesn't, and 50 quid's a thin on the ground. So
Yeah,
decisions are harder to make, and you look here, and again, we want people to invest, and that's what it is. It's an investment. So we want people to be able to look at this and make the right decisions. It's like an informed choice in many ways. Is kind of where I'm leaning here. I would like that stuff, but again, there's other stuff down here that I'm going to want more, and
yeah.
then I've got a limited budget, and everybody will be the same. As you say, if money was no object, you're going to go in for the diamond package, and but we're not in that space. So it's about the quick wins, the hedging your bets, the increasing your chances of getting a win. All of those things are things I'm hoping that we can sort of discuss and be guided on.
Okay, so I mean, the first one, the probiotics there. Now, you don't need to buy those because you could uh, make your own probiotics by making real sauerkraut, not buying it, unless it's raw and real. But you can make your own probiotic drinks. You can do that for free.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, However, um, a high quality probiotic can make a massive difference. I mean, a lot of health practitioners say that actually good health starts in the gut. If ever you've had a drug from the doctor, probably, particularly an antibiotic, it's probably decimated the natural probiotics that are in the gut and are the main part of our immune system. So that's almost everybody with a damaged system. So, again, if money were no object, then you might as well buy those. And the best time to take them.
And
First,
these sort of bacteria and things, they don't come back without probiotics. Is
oh,
that
they
is that
can
right?
do. No, they can do. And the next product, the fulvic minerals,
Mm-hmm.
they include one particular mineral called yttrium. And the natural bacteria in the gut eats yttrium for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So, yes, rather than, say, putting in cow-based probiotics, there's nothing wrong with those, like yogurt or something. Actually, what you really want to do is to get your own existing, the survivors after the pharmaceutical drugs, you want to get them back to life. And fulvic minerals are from the soil. There are a few deposits, super rare deposits in the world, which are packed with minerals. So that little bottle there, which is only about this big, 50 ml, could last 4 months. I recommend people should probably use the whole bottle in 1 month. But
I've got that, Clive, and I've still I don't use it every day, but I actually like it, and it's one of yours as part of the gold pack, and I've still got it there, and I do like it. There's an earthy, clean, natural, organic taste to it. It's really quite good stuff. But again, habits and when to take things, with food, without food, in the morning, afternoon, or evening. All of these questions of getting the most out of it, picking the right things for the right reasons, taking the right dosage, and taking it at the right time without food, all
oh,
and times a day. These are all questions that I think
okay, so
need to be asked.
let me cover that with each one. With the probiotics, the best time to take it is first thing in the morning, when the gut is sort of uh, without food for several hours, and then you can recolonize it. So first thing in the morning with that. With the fulvic minerals, usually speaking, whenever I pour a glass of water, I'll put something in it. And fulvic minerals have to be taken. Sorry, I've been talking all day. With water that does not have chlorine or fluoride in it. In other words, clean water. And I've had people who've noticed the difference in seconds, right? For myself, I noticed the difference the next day. Now, I'm not very sensitive to any of this stuff on my whole website, but I do notice the iodine, the fulvic minerals, and the magnesium. Those are the main ones that I notice. Not everybody will, of course, but fulvic minerals are relatively inexpensive because if you want to make that last, you could make it last 4 months.
Clive, excuse me butting in here, just to get back to that. This ability to notice, like, if you, people are kind of out of touch with themselves, aren't they? You know, like they could get a slap in the face and not notice they're that punch drunk just now. A lot of people. So the subtle changes that these things can make to you. Are people in touch with their own bodies enough to actually notice these things, or could you not notice anything, or not be sure that you're noticing anything, and it's actually doing you a power of good? Or do you think when it's working, you will notice it?
Well, the idea is that you want to notice it. I mean, I'm keen on people getting a result on day 1. Now, obviously, that's sometimes rather over optimistic. And some people are super sensitive. Some people are like me and are not terribly sensitive to them. But I mean, most people have got something wrong with them one way or another: aches, pains, sleep, worry, whatever it might be, depression. And so anybody who's got a problem, they're very likely to notice something at some point. It's a hard one for me to predict, but the next one along, the Lugol's iodine, that one, people often notice a difference. Often. So anybody who's got brain fog, they walk in a room and can't remember why they walked in. Anybody who's got dry skin, anybody who is losing body hair, anybody whose temperature's out of control, cold hands and feet, boiling hot, any women with menopause symptoms, breast cancer. There are quite a number of things that iodine will have a rapid effect on, and most people notice it in days or a few weeks. The most common phrase that people use is the brain fog just lifted. I'm thinking clearly again. And the wife of a friend of mine, she found a big lump in her breast, which they said was what you'd think, and she painted it on every day. And 4 months later, she did other things as well. 4 months later, gone. But she reckoned it was painting the iodine on the breast, because in women and men, the most iodine is in the thyroid, and anybody who's absorbing chlorine, cooking in it, showering in it, fluoride, all those people will have diminished thyroid function because there isn't, the iodine's been knocked out. So that's men and women, but it's mainly women with the thyroid issues. Lots of them are on levothyroxine from the doctor for the rest of their lives, in theory. But then in women, the second place in the body where the most iodine concentrates is in the breasts. So Japanese women who eat seaweed, most of them for every meal, they hardly have breast cancer. Whereas in England, and they hardly ever have menopause symptoms. In England, of course, it's totally the other way around.
Yeah, and that is that. I mean, out of everything that I got from you before, that is the bottle that's most full. But you don't take it's like a drop or two in a glass of water. You don't take a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, depending on how you use it, there's a year's supply in that little bottle, a year's worth. Because
so that's kind of a no-brainer, isn't it? Then for a lot of people, because somebody in your house might benefit from it. It's going to last you a long time. It's unlikely to do you any harm. It's probably going to do you some good, and it lasts a long time. It's good bang for your buck, isn't it?
And it's amazingly versatile. I mean, prior to doing surgery in the operating room, they paint the body with iodine because that will make sure that there's no infection. and you can put it on a cut. It hurts if you put it on a cut, but there won't be a problem with it. You can breathe it in. You could get a little nebulizer with water, put a few drops of iodine, and breathe it, which would probably, if somebody had a throat infection, bacterial infection or lung issues, thing beginning with C and ending with a 19 at the end, all sorts of things can be successfully overcome with materials like iodine. They used to sell this in chemists up until about 15 years ago. Then it was getting publicity for reversing thyroid issues and menopause and so on. So they stopped selling it in all chemists in the UK.
It's an absolute joke. So yeah, I'm a fan of that stuff, and I think for a lot of people that's a winner. And then we're into these digestive enzymes, and again, just tell me if I'm going too slow here or whatever, because there's a couple of ones that are must covers, and I'm just conscious of the time. We've probably got 20 minutes left anyway that would sort of allocated, and I don't like to run over. So we're making good progress, Clive, and I
Yeah,
don't, as I
we'll
said,
get
I
through
don't.
them all. We'll get through
Okay,
them all in 20
okay, good.
minutes. So the digestive enzymes, now, these are from foods. There are foods like pineapple, that's a digestive enzyme. Apple cider vinegar is a digestive enzyme. There are many types, and they say that as we get older, we lose our ability to digest the food, no matter how good the quality is. Are our guts strong enough to extract all that goodness and then put them into the cells? And so over the age of 50 or whatever, some people think, well, maybe we're not so good at it anymore. And why partly the aging process happens is we're just not able to get the nutrients out of the food. So some people take a digestive enzyme at the beginning of each meal because that helps the digestion. Now, let's say somebody's really old and they really don't want to eat, or and that they're not making the best of the little food they are eating. Give them digestive enzymes. At least then they'll be getting the most out of what they are eating. So
I think
the
that's
older you
very,
are,
very, very good advice. That, and so, would you say that that's an age-related product, like not for a 20-year-old, but for a 50-plus-year-old, or is it? Am I thinking of this
no, I
incorrectly?
think you're right. I mean, if somebody was having digestive issues and were younger, then that might help them. I mean, for a lot of people, most people aren't making enough stomach acid. Doctors say, oh, you're making too much stomach acid, but it's the opposite. So some people take apple cider vinegar in water if it's raw, unpasteurized, half an hour before a meal, and that increases the body's ability to make the stomach acid that's needed. And so basically that is worth a try. Most of these things are worth
How does that
actually trying.
compare then, as a quick sort of versus apple cider vinegar? Is that a sort of compatible product, or does it sit alongside it, or do you think that
Okay,
yeah,
sorry,
no bother.
just cut this off. Um,
Yeah, does it sit alongside apple cider vinegar? Can it be used in conjunction with it, or is it
yeah,
better
well,
than it? Or
absolutely. No, it's these digestive enzymes are a blend. So there's some in there that are really aimed at the sort of dairy, some that are aimed at sort of proteins, some that are aimed at carbohydrates, and so on. So uh, it it's covering a whole load of different digestive needs. Apple cider vinegar covers some, but not quite all. But for some people, apple cider vinegar is magic. Just solves their whole digestive issues. Half an hour in water before a meal.
yeah, yeah, I just don't like the taste of apple cider vinegar, but
Well, then digestive enzymes don't taste of anything.
yeah, well
So,
well again, there's another nice little bit of advice. If they're both doing similar things and you don't like the taste of one, well, there's your definite answer. And if you're a certain age and if you're spending money on organic, good, clean food, and you're spending twice as much to buy the non-poison food, and you want to get everything out of it, then that would be a smart move as well to give your body that boost if you're at a certain age to get more out of that food that you're paying a lot more for anyway.
Exactly. It makes a lot of sense. And also, if you add the fulvic minerals that we mentioned before, they fill all the gaps. Because they're soil-based, every single mineral in existence is there in small amounts. So suddenly people can actually switch their bodies back on to functioning properly, at least from a digestive perspective. The next one down is vitamin K2.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the secrets to good teeth. Vitamin K2 is really common now at this time of year because any animals that are eating freshly growing grass, the cheese or the milk or the meat, will be full of vitamin K2. And that turns out to be the secret of why our ancestors, or any ancestors who are eating the original food, never had teeth problems. It's only when they started eating modern food that the teeth problems arrived. And it took many years to work out that it was actually the traditional diet included lots of vitamin K2. So anybody who's vegan is almost bound to be low on K2 unless they're eating natto. And this product is made from natto, which is a fermented product. So perfect for vegans or, pretty heavy duty vegetarians, maybe.
Yeah.
Important for bone growth. Anybody who's got osteoarthritis or anything with an osteo at the beginning, they're bound to be low on K2 and magnesium.
Okay, again, more good advice. And I get 35 quid is 3 months supply. So it's not costing a fortune there.
Yeah, no, it's not outrageous.
Yeah. Good and high quality as well, which is good. So then we're into vitamin C. Now, this is an interesting one. I had that there, and it was the one I went for last. I don't know why, but I went for it last. And t- tell me how it works, what it works for, and how to take it.
Okay, so the cells of our bodies run on electrons. So when we do exercise, we create electrons. When we walk barefoot on grass, for instance, we create electrons. When we take an antioxidant, we create electrons. And vitamin C is an antioxidant, but it does way more than that. People have found that doctors have given them mega doses, like 200 grams intravenously in 24 hours, and their cancer is gone. Myself, when I started taking 10 grams a day, which is quite a lot, I took it in divided doses. My eyesight got better. My ophthalmologist was very impressed because suddenly I was reading a line better on the chart in a very short period of time. Vitamin C for some people gives them much more energy. Vitamin C, if magnesium is the most important mineral, vitamin C is the most important vitamin by far.
Mm-hmm.
And there are books written about everything that it'll do. Everything that we think of as an infectious disease, from scarlet fever to TB, common cold, vitamin C has been shown by doctors over the decades to be the answer, or at least, or
And,
at the very
and
least, a huge part of the answer.
and that comes as a powder. It's a kind of I don't know how you would best. How would you describe the taste of it? You put it in water, mix it up.
Put it in water. I've got three different powders there. There's the one I like is the ascorbic acid, which is sort of like a bit like lemon juice in water. So most people like that one the best. Then we do the magnesium ascorbate, which is quite nice because you've got magnesium as well as the vitamin C all in one, and it tastes nicer. The children are more likely to like the taste of the magnesium ascorbate. You could mix it in with something and it would more or less disappear. The problem with it is it's double the price of the other type. Then there's sodium ascorbate, which is at the bottom. And the idea of that one is it's buffered. So it's some people don't like the ascorbic acid because maybe they've got a very, very sensitive stomach and they don't like it. So, but the sodium ascorbate is very gentle all the way through, and so some people like that. But we
So
are
this is what I've got then. I must have that sharp and tangy taste because that's interesting because I never saw this bit on your website. And that's what I was trying to get at there when I said, "Tell me, I'm trying to describe the taste. That sharp and tangy, right? So I've got that one. That's what I've got. That would come in the gold pack. Am I right?
exactly right. And
Okay.
if
And I,
somebody,
I'm not a massive fan of the taste. It took me a couple of days to. I got the measurement wrong. I put it in a mug of water, and I ended up I had to dilute it down in pints of water over a couple of days because I didn't want to throw it out because I'd put too much in, Clive. So I kind of back calculated the
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
dosage and I diluted it down over like 4 days. But I wasn't looking forward to it, and it was the sharp and tangy taste. So it's interesting that you've got a child-friendly taste there, and another one that's much gentler. So there's choices there to make sure by hook or by crook that you're still getting this important vitamin in.
Well, exactly, and one can also get capsule versions of it as well. One of the most important things that it is that these are not genetically modified. Most vitamin C you get is genetically modified, and you don't want that version.
Yep. Okay. And let me just go back then. Sorry, I'm just in two screens here, so I just want to make sure I've got this right. Okay. So that was useful on the vitamin C side. Okay. And then your favorite subject, the magnesium. I think we've covered that.
We have, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So amino acids.
Okay, now let's say somebody was not strong. They've hardly got any muscles and they want muscles. If you want to get some muscles without doing any exercise, uh, amino acids can be the answer. It's bizarre, but that's what bodybuilders use. They used to eat 10 steaks for breakfast and do it that way, but since steaks are now so expensive, they take amino acids as the shortcut. Proteins from the steaks, they break down into peptides and amino acids. So you want to put on muscle, amino acids are the answer, but they do lots of other things. They give you energy. Some people, it's all the difference in the world between them feeling and feeling fantastic. And the amino acids, some people don't like the taste. So we first of all tried disguising them with chocolate, and that didn't really help. So we created a product called the Nutrient Power Chocolate Shake, which has got mushrooms and all sorts of things in it, including the amino acids. And so again, it's worth trying try a bottle and see if you feel it. You
Yeah.
know,
And one of the members watching said, "Is it organic?" And I don't know if she's particularly talking about just this product or all the products, but what's the I know you would. I know you eat a lot of organic or all organic, but what's your views on the? Are you able to source completely organic stuff for
not
this, or
everything.
is it?
No, with the amino acids, we do well not to have amino acids made from human waste products. Incredible though it might sound, in the essential amino acids, there's a amino acid called cysteine. Now, where do they get cysteine from? Well, most of it comes from China. So how do they make it? Well, people go to the barbers and the hairdressers, and they sell the human hair, and they convert that into the amino acid cysteine. Ours comes from fermented vegetables, as opposed to human hair. But I mean, it's incredible. Who would realize that that's the case? So
Yeah,
unfortunately, even though it's being made from fermented vegetables, um, we haven't found any supplier in the world who's doing most of them organically. So we have to do the best we can. If anybody knows somebody who is doing it that way, let us know and we'll switch suppliers right away.
yeah. So okay, so that's interesting, and I don't know if that's actually quite a good question. And so thank you to Sarah for asking that one. Okay, so I think we've covered that one well enough, and then so just time-wise, we've maybe got 5 minutes left. Do you want to just pick out anything
Okay,
particular?
the next most important one is vitamin D. Everybody in winter, we're through it now. Everybody in winter's low on vitamin D. I used to get colds every year, until I started taking 10,000 IUs of vitamin D uh, every day in winter. 15 years, never got a cold again. It's just ridiculous. So that's almost everybody's low on that. And so there's enough in there for a year. Again, 20 quid's not the end of the world. And also it's important for happiness and a whole host of things. Everybody needs sunshine, and vitamin D is the closest you could get to it. Targeted selenium, that is, on the one hand, ludicrously expensive, £100, but there's enough there for a year. But I've had many people who've been addicted to drugs, both pharmaceutical and things like heroin and methadone and so on, and sometimes alcohol, who found that taking the correct dose of selenium, along with one or two other things I recommend as a little protocol, I've had people come, 20 years they've been trying to come off the ADHD medication or whatever it is. 3 days off, no problem. 20 years, never been able to succeed. It does a lot of things. One of them is it neutralizes certain toxins. And for some people, a mixture of amino acids, fulvic minerals, targeted selenium, iodine can be the answer where they've been unable to give up the addiction. Suddenly, bam, able to do it. So, and I've made videos of all the subjects we talked about. I've got separate videos on, or we could talk another time and go more deeply into certain. Okay, well, if you're going to have a baby, what should you be doing? If Granny's got Alzheimer's, should you be doing? I mean,
okay, so that's an interesting one. And just wrapping up here now. So there's two ones that I'd like to chat about. Then the zinc, if that's okay, Clive. The zinc and the sodium bicarbonate. The sodium bicarbonate first. That's a little bit of a miracle drug, that not expensive, but there's so many uses for it in many ways. But I've got your stuff there. I take it at night before I go to bed, maybe half a teaspoon in a pint of water, something like that.
Yep.
And that, because I get a sort of acid reflux, like it goes into my throat and that kind of stuff. It's quite horrible.
All right. So let me just interrupt you. If you're getting acid reflux when you lie down, you are not making enough stomach acid. It's not stomach acid that you're experiencing. It's going to be lactic acid. So if you were to do the digestive enzymes or to do the apple cider vinegar, you can. I don't sell it, but you can get apple cider vinegar in capsules. So you just want to correct that. So sodium bicarb is doing the job for you, but actually, that's treating it after the horse has bolted.
Right. So you okay? So I'm noticing some improvements with that, but you think it's not. I think that would calm down the acid, but it's not acid. It's lack of acid, or it's lactate.
It's like a stomach acid. But the other
What did
thing
you
is,
call
if
it?
you're
What did you call this? The
lactic acid,
lactic acid.
lactic acidosis. So, but the thing is that it could well be that you're low on magnesium. That could be it, because there's a valve, and for it to be closed, it needs to relax, and magnesium allows you to relax. So you might well find that
Yeah.
magnesium might stop that
See,
happening.
I'm a sort of very impulsive person. I find myself wanting to wrap up this meeting right now and go to my kitchen and take some magnesium. That's that's how powerful. Yeah. I said this to you before when I tried, and I'm terrible at taking stuff, Clive. Not that I can swallow
Me
them
too.
all, and uh, my habits are. I'm not a routine type guy, you know. Um, and it's a problem because I felt I was getting benefit from magnesium, and I've still got some there, and I should have been back to you for another 3 or 4 bottles by now if I was taking it anything close to what you'd recommended, and I'm not. And yet I do find that it helps me, but yet I'm not taking it, and that's a challenge. And this is back to this. Well, what are you going to do to solve your problems, mate? Are you going to get your act together and break some of these pathetic little habits and routines that you've not got yourself into?
Is your magnesium hidden behind a cupboard door, or is it
No,
in the
I
open?
purposely took it out and
Yeah, good.
I've got everything of yours on my kitchen work surface. It's tucked away from the normal workspace, but it's there in eyesight, so I can see it. Because when it was tucked away, I was forgetting about it.
Yeah, well, exactly. So, yeah, it's a decision as well. Yeah, you're
And
perfectly capable of remembering if you choose to. Most of the
well,
time, at
that's a
least.
good point. I will take that little nudge from you, Clive, in the way it was intended, and it's and that's what's needed as well. And the zinc is another. I know that you believe, and I think too that that's an important one. When do you take it with food, without food? What are we looking at here to get the
Um,
best of it?
well, with everything, if you want to feel absolutely safe tummy wise, taking it with food would be a good idea because then it gets all mixed up. You know, some people might particularly be sensitive, and so taking it by itself that might upset them in some way. So with food, if you're in doubt, is always the way. And zinc, some people notice little white dots on their fingernails. If you see a little white dot on your fingernail, one of two things has happened. You've either hit yourself with a hammer or you're zinc deficient. And
Okay.
so that's a sure sign that you need zinc. The more, for a man, the more ejaculatory sex they're having, the more they'll be losing zinc and selenium. So young men, particularly, probably have a need for zinc more than some others. Um, and again, it's what sort of food are you eating? You know, there's zinc in lots of foods. You know, so if you're eating foods like liver, well, you'll be getting lots of zinc. You know, animal
Yeah, I'm
products,
not a fan of liver. Never liked liver.
no. But yeah, with all these things, you can look up magnesium-rich foods, zinc-rich foods, and just hope that the food was grown in soil that actually had it in the first place.
Well, that these are all important things, and again, for the avoidance of doubt, you know that you're guaranteed to get a certain quality and quantity of minerals doing it this way, and this should be as important as food as part of your daily routine. You know, you're eating every day. Uh, Suppose eating then becomes quite a good trigger. You're eating, therefore you're taking eating and supplementing at the same time.
But luckily, there are some supplements which you don't have to take on a daily basis. I mean, for myself, with iodine, for instance, I take a squirt, which is about 10 drops in water, maybe once every 10 days or a couple of weeks or so. With selenium, I do the same when I'm in the mood. And I really do put more and more trust in intuition. Just, because
See,
at
it's
one
funny you
level,
should say that because I'm not that type of guy. See, when I do like recipes and things, I follow the recipe to the pinch of salt. You know,
uh,
I'd love to be able to just say, "Oh, yeah, it feels like a bit of that," and taste it, and yeah, you know, I kind of relying on other things, and that's why back to that question I was asking you: are people in touch with themselves enough to know what they need, to even know if you're actually being affected by something, you know,
you know,
positively or negatively?
yeah, most people probably aren't, and their intuition will be telling them Mars bars, or I mean, they may be confused. The message may get confused.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but uh, I think all these things, intuition is a skill you can practice. I
yeah.
mean, how many times just before you've knocked something over have you had a little message going, "Careful, you're going to knock it over,"
Oh,
and
yeah.
you ignore that, but then if you start paying attention, then suddenly you don't knock things over because you know we we are not just in this particular time frame. I don't know if you've ever had a serious accident happen, like a near death thing, but all sorts of weird things happen. Time slows down, you know what's going to happen in advance. All sorts of things happen. So we are massively intuitive, and we're psychic beings, really, if we allow it. So it's practicing it, accepting that we are, to some degree, these incredibly powerful individuals, and trying to grow it, I think.
Sorry, somebody was trying to phone me on Skype there just at the last minute, someone from Australia. So, okay, Clive, thank you again. So, but we've got your website. So your page is linked on our site. we've got actually a little affiliate thing with you. We don't do this with a lot of people, but with yourself, we wanted to do this because we felt that your products were good and we believe in them. So on our page, if you buy anything from Clive shop, you're getting it at the normal price, and there's a bit that comes back to Awaken Pages that helps us keep the lights on, and spend time with people at Clive and bring these important pieces of information to you, keep the websites going, all of that kind of stuff. So we're up front about that, but it doesn't in any way influence or affect the price that you pay. You're getting Clive's best price on the site, and there's just a small kickback for us there, which Clive does with a lot of his good introducers anyway. And we wouldn't do that with anybody. We just, certain people, we think, we want to support certain businesses and we want to put some time into them. I think we've met now three times, Clive, and I've enjoyed them all, and I always wish we could spend more time. I'd love to catch up with you one day for a beer and a chat, and my treat. We'll make that happen. I'll get down to see you, and I'll tap your brain, and I'll buy you lunch in return. But yeah, I'd love to do that. Thank you to all the people who watched and all the people who watched the recording. And all I would say is, Clive's a top guy. His standards are very high. The stuff's very good. I think you've got enough advice in a video like this to make some better informed choices, hopefully. But listen to your intuition and listen to your body, as Clive's saying. Try it. People talk about microdosing, and Clive's talking about macro dosing, I suppose. Is it? And there's something in that as well. I felt quite comfortable with that, trying that, and for some people, if they get these instant, better in a day or something noticeably good. There's somebody saying that I bought Clive's products before and they were very, very good quality. I would agree with that, Clive, because I got your gold pack the last time. Because the last time we spoke, I was really interested. And I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to go for the gold pack, and it was a lovely the opening experience. A box is it wasn't one thing. I had the kit. I had a full kit, and I felt it was a very Christmassy type feeling that you don't get much as an adult.
Yes, I love unwrapping stuff. Two important things I just need to add briefly. If you're going to do the mega dosing of magnesium, there's one contraindication: is if somebody's got a serious kidney problem, they don't want to mega dose it. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I used to do consultations, but I don't do them really anymore, except in emergencies. So to compensate from that, I've got a club called secrethealthclub.com, where it's sort of an A to Z of what you need to know, what I would have told you had I've had the time. So it unfortunately you have to pay to join.
That's a very that Secret Health Club is very good, and that's on the website as well. Sorry, I'll take that away. That's on the website as well. So if you visit Clive's Awaken page and click through to the website, you can get access to the Secret Health Club there, and that's a forum. Lots of people talking about different things. Clive giving advice. It's like advice that Clive can't publish online. Is that right? It has to be behind sort of password
yes,
protected.
there are a few bits which the authorities don't like. So the person asking a question there about anorexia, a friend of mine had the most incredible anorexia experience. I know we're going over time. He was at this house and he saw another anorexic, and he was panicking. This guy was so thin, he realized the guy was going to die, and he ran towards him to help him, and he realized he was running towards a mirror. and that ended his anorexia just like that. So he saw himself for because he normally
yeah, because a lot of anorexics can't see themselves. Yeah.
yeah. So somebody's recovering from anorexia, I would suggest the amino acids would probably be the #1 supplement that would help. I mean, obviously eating really good food would be a great idea, but to put the muscle back on fast, the essential amino acids, very useful. I've also got a, if you go on to any of like Rumble or BitChute or Brand New Tube, anything except YouTube, because they keep knocking my stuff off, if you put in my name and supplements, you'll see a video I made a while ago, which runs through what we've talked about, but in maybe a little bit more depth as to how much to take and what time of the day and so on.
That's good. Well, listen, Clive, hang back, and you and I have a quick chat anyway. But thank you to everybody. If you want to get some really good stuff, treat yourself to one of the packs or some of the products if money's tight. Try it. If you're getting results, you know what price your health, and you couldn't probably get better stuff. I think it's up there with the best of them, and Clive's a top man, so he's a good guy, and I think that goes into the products, Clive. Your heart's in the right place, mate, and that makes a big difference to the the sort of spirit of the thing. And I think that's very, very important. And you're looking good for it. I'm not even going to guess what age you are, Clive, but whatever you are, you're looking good for it anyway, and that's a great advert for clean living and doing the right things. And you've been through some challenging things with health in the past, and I think that's made you, appreciate what being healthy really is, and you've got yourself into a really good place now, which is great.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm in answer to the question, I'm 68.
Good.
Oh
Well,
yeah, here I am.
you're doing well. Well, I'm 56 in a week's time, so I've got a wee
Ooh.
bit to go. So I'll be happy if I was looking at like that at your age, Clive. So it's only 144 months away, and I'll be that age. So it's not long. It's not long if, if you get paid monthly, then that would be 144 paychecks, and I'll be right where you are right now. So time flies when you're having fun. Well, listen, thank you to everybody. It's been great to chat with you again, Clive, and it's always a pleasure. And I love what you're doing, and we're very, very supportive of it. So we'll make sure that I'll get this out to more of the members as well, and we'll let people watch the repeats and things. But thanks for that, and thank you to everybody who came along.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.